Welcome to Ear Biscuits, the podcast where two lifelong friends talk about life for a long time. I'm Link.
And I'm Rhett. This week at the round table of dim lighting, we're gonna be filling each other in on a few things, catching each other up, and in the process, filling you in, catching you up on a number of things that we have experienced in life, just living life as people who live lives.
I have recently experienced a life change that I didn't anticipate.
Oh. Life change.
Yeah, it's you're looking over my body.
Are you over promising?
I'm over promising
And under delivering?
but I need to talk about it because I
Okay.
need some.
Well, this is a safe space.
I just haven't wrapped my mind around it,
You
and
will only be slightly ridiculed.
I've also discovered a contraption in my travels that I want you to know about.
Oh, okay.
What you got from me?
I'm intrigued. I've got a little dream I would like to share with you that just happened this morning. I've got, an event, a traumatic event that I was, I kind of lent a hand in a way that is not really
Caused?
Is not really true to my. It doesn't play on my strength, but I got some feedback and apparently I did a great job. So I'm going to brag on myself a little bit.
So that's why you're talking about it. Okay. Something you didn't think you were good at, you got good feedback, so you have to tell us.
And if we get to it, I've got something to talk about that we have talked about, but we haven't talked about it extensively in the context that I think it might apply to us and our work. So who knows what we'll get to, but I'm over-promising so we can under-deliver.
Good. Well, let's start with the dream. You said you know that the dream was this morning. You woke up from the dream? Alarm clock?
It was. No, it was an early morning dream. Woke up, went back to sleep. Or I'm talking like a 3 a.m. This was maybe like the first dream cycle or something. But yeah, are you questioning whether or not? He's like, sir, how do you know that it was last night? Like,
No,
what
you
do
just
mean?
said this morning. So I was like,
yeah, it literally happened. Yeah, I'm not making up that it was this morning.
Sometimes when you wake up out of a dream, that's very visceral.
Yeah, and when I woke up, I was like, I was trying to remember the most recent dream, and I could only get a previous dream. You know how that happens sometimes? So I don't remember the most recent dream, but the previous dream was, maybe you can help me understand the significance of this.
Okay.
I was at a restaurant with my family, but it was not the current year. It was like Shepard was probably 5 or 6.
Oh, flashback.
It's weird. And I did not question that at all.
No.
You don't really question
you never
that
do
kind
in
of
your
thing.
dreams. That's the interesting thing. It's you kind of go with it. We can learn something from that.
Yeah. And
in our waking lives.
it was, what you might call like a O'Charlie's kind of restaurant,
That adds up. When Shepard was 5, you were big on the kids eat free.
Oh, well, I didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably why I was there
Yeah.
in my dream.
There was one next to the hospital where our babies were delivered back in
Western Wake. I think it was what they call it now.
Kids eat
I don't
free
know that
pretty
it
decent.
was an O'Charlie's. I'm just saying it was O'Charlie's like.
And can I say that
It's not great.
if you don't have kids and you show up at a kids eat free night at a place like O'Charlie's, you are not going to be a happy camper.
I don't know if they still do that.
They don't separate you. Like kids or no kids is
Kids
what should
section.
be. That's what they should have done with smoking and non-smoking.
Yeah.
When that changed, because we remember when that was a thing.
I do think you can still smoke at
Smoking?
O'Charlie's though.
Yeah, if you're under a certain
a
age.
kid.
Yeah,
Kids get free cigarettes.
right.
All the cigarettes they want.
They should separate. Like that hot tub place we went to in Durango. They separated the families from
kids,
the adults.
Kids ruin quite a bit of things, especially other people's kids.
Exactly.
And a lot of times your own kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But, there are many sweet moments. I don't regret a moment. I don't regret.
You don't regret any of the
for a moment,
wet.
I don't regret being a dad.
You don't regret the sweet moments.
And I was having a sweet moment with my, Shepard was still in the as a 5-6-year-old or whatever, still in the very they're just so cute. They're just, your kids are cute. At some point, your kids are no longer cute. My kids are not cute anymore.
You said it.
So.
I mean, well, you said it.
You said it.
I emphasize that in an insulting way, I'm sorry.
In the table, on the
They're
table.
good-looking guys.
At the table, next to us, like very close, by the way. It was almost like we were in a booth and we're kind of back to back.
Okay.
Was Matt Damon.
Hey. He's been in a lot of movies.
And I think the reason that Matt Damon was in my dream, just to kind of give you the practical reason, is that I stumbled upon a TikTok of him being interviewed talking about Tom Cruise telling a story about the stunts that he does in Mission Impossible. It's not even a recent clip, it's something you've probably seen where like Matt Damon is essentially doing an impersonation of how intense Tom Cruise is when he tells you about the stunts that he does.
Okay.
And it kind of stuck with me apparently.
I saw the beginning of that and I scrolled.
But I didn't finish it, just to be clear. When I kind of knew where it was going, I was like, I got it, Matt Damon. But one of the things that happened in my mind, apparently then manifested itself in my dream, is that the Tom Cruise, Matt Damon sort of connection ended up being Matt Damon with the haircut that Tom Cruise had in The Last Samurai. So like the culturally appropriated like samurai haircut that he had in that movie was the one that Matt Damon had in this.
And I'm actually confused because Matt Damon was also in a...
He also did a similar thing, I think.
A samurai movie and got the same criticism.
Right. So maybe that was also happening.
Okay.
But it was like a supercuts version of The Last Samurai haircut.
Describe it, I can't picture it. A bowl cut?
Well, I mean, essentially... And I'm not saying that I'm not saying I'm guilty of this, but if you have long hair and you put your hair up in a bun and you leave some of it down, but there's other things that, and then if you dress like a samurai, then you've completed the package. I do that sometimes and I say it's a Viking thing so that it's not appropriation because, that's my heritage. So anyway.
It's a Viking thing, he says.
But he had the supercuts version of that. And what I mean by that is he essentially had the haircut that many of our friends, including you, had in high school where it was completely shaved.
The undercut, shave.
But then he had taken the top part and put it in a, not a bun, but like a pony. And it was very like Supercuts Last Samurai. That's what I was thinking at the time. I was like, oh, he must be making a film. And he's just got his break. And he
must be making that mistake again.
He's at Charlie's to smoke cigarettes with children in between, scenes. But I got this idea that I was gonna kind of unleash on my family in the dream, and that was, I was going to, and it's ironic that we're coming out of our company-wide meeting, which often starts with people talking about celebrity sightings. But what I was telling my kids was, guys, guess what celebrity I saw today? And it was kind of like I was playing I Spy, and it was gonna be, the surprise was that it's Matt Damon and he's right behind you. And I did that, and I don't remember many details, but I woke up because I was so anticipating the surprise of saying, it's Matt Damon.
But then Matt Damon would have heard you say that.
Oh yeah, and that was the plan.
Oh.
Was for me to say, it's Matt Damon, and then him to turn around and my whole family's looking at him. That was the plan.
He would have loved it.
It didn't come to fruition.
He would have loved it.
Because
he would have whipped that ponytail around. Might would have taken off it
was pretty short,
one of your
though.
Boys.
It was only a couple inches short.
I do want to clarify that I had the soccer undercut as a senior in high school, but it was never long enough to put in a thing, and I never attempted that.
I question, have you seen our prom picture?
You think it was long enough?
Yeah, it was. I
never put it in the thing.
I think it was. I think you could have done it on top. It maybe not all the way back.
Yeah.
I think you had enough.
But I didn't.
But you didn't do it.
That's the point I'm making.
You didn't do it.
I didn't cross that line.
I think you missed an opportunity. It's, I'm self-conscious about it, and I do it out of practicality, but I just think that, I don't know, it's a weird thing to judge. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, if you got long hair as a man and you don't want it to be in your face, what are your options? Ponytail? You think I should have a ponytail? You want me to have a pony?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to give input.
Oh, well, you sound like you were.
I was talking about me.
Yeah, I know, but
and you're making it about
the
you.
implied judgment was that you were too good for to ever have a top knot. And so I'm like, here I am. Sometimes I have one.
I'm just making it about me.
Okay, well, all right. Okay, so you love mine. That's what you're saying. You love it when I do that.
I don't have to have an opinion on it, and I don't. I officially don't have an opinion on it.
It's good to know. That's good to know.
I had a dream. Honestly, I was starting to think about the dream I had because I remembered it.
Oh.
And then that's why I wasn't listening to you anymore.
Oh, great.
So I didn't hear you talking about it.
That's good to know.
And then you brought me back, and here we are talking about you now.
Yep.
And I was thinking about me.
It was my dream. Okay, so what happened in your dream?
It was your dream.
My dream's over. I woke up.
I really don't want to talk about it.
Wow.
I was at a camp.
Oh, okay, you do.
And I didn't want to, and I think I was my age, but that wasn't a problem. That wasn't a weird part about it.
How old were the campers?
They were like high school, college age. It was kind of weird.
Okay.
And of course, so I blended right in.
You weren't a counselor, you were a camper.
Yeah, I was, hello fellow campers, kind of a thing. And I didn't want to go to any of the programming, so I didn't. And then I was just kind of moping around, and people started coming up to me and saying, like, what are you doing? You're not, and I didn't have a good reason. I was just like the biggest downer at this camp, just moping around, not doing any of the activities. That was my dream. And I woke up.
Thanks for sharing.
I know. I'm like,
sounds fun.
You reminded me of it. I'm like, and I didn't. It wasn't a good showing. And now I woke up not feeling. I can't shake the feeling of it.
Of camp?
Of being disappointed in myself.
Oh.
I think that's what I'm experiencing right now, dude.
This is actually kind of funny because, as you know, Shepard returned from 2 weeks at kind of like a scuba / sailing camp.
A water camp.
And at the recommendation of a mythical beast, I don't often check my Instagram DMs, but because it's rarely of any benefit to me.
Okay.
But
real talk.
We talked about how much Shepard was enjoying scuba diving right here on this podcast. And a mythical beast who had listened to that episode sent a message and said, might I highly recommend this camp where he can go and scuba dive. And I was like, this is great. We've been trying to figure out what we're going to get Shepard to do for the summer. Kind of want to occupy him. He occupies himself, but I've always
channel that passion, man.
I've always wanted him, and it wasn't just about the passion of scuba diving. It was that, but it was the camp experience, right? Me and you grew up in church, and so we had all these so many group. Now a lot of them were very emotionally manipulative, but setting that aside for a second, there was these very pivotal experiences like going on a mission trip or going to camp where you just had these things where the way I've described it is so much life stuffed into this 1 week or this 2 weeks that then has this really outsized impression in your memory as you end up growing up.
Yeah, community-based experiences.
And, we just don't have that because we're not a part of that kind of community anymore. And I miss that aspect of church, right? In the youth group things that kids can experience. Now, there's like team sports and that kind of thing, but he doesn't really do team sports, right? He's into music and individual things. He's on his one wheel all the time, etc.
So the water camp could be it.
And as you know, when he got down there, and it was, kudos to Shepard for going down there by himself, not knowing anyone, not taking a friend, and also it's across the country. I mean, Jesse did go out there with him initially. He flew back by himself, but I was like, Shepard can handle this because he gets in and where he fits in, and he's kind of good at that. But a number of circumstances made the adjustment over the first few days very difficult. He was miserable. He was having a hard time. And I was like,
and he had a cell phone.
Yes, exactly. He had a lifeline to his parents, which is something that we never had when we got dropped off at camp. Long story short was he eventually adjusted and ended up having the best time of his life. He wants to go back next year. Oh. He was super enthusiastic, not just about the activities, but about the people and just the place. And he's telling us about the specific experiences of when they did this around the campfire or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as he's saying this stuff, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Like I'm dad of the year because it was my idea. Well, it was a fan's idea. But then I took it and made it my idea and gave it to my son. Yeah. And he's experiencing these things and having, the kinds of things that are meaningful and thankful. And thanks to you for getting us into scuba diving and to begin with.
Okay, you're doling out credit. I love it.
But I'm about to throw you under the bus a little bit. Because when he started telling me about all that, and I was like, yeah, I love that you got to experience that. It's so like, I feel, I know the me as a kid that got those kinds of experiences and just loved every second of it. And I was like, my only camp experience was 1 week at Camp Caraway. And of course, I wasn't gonna go by myself because that just wasn't something that any of us did back then. I went with Link, and Link hated it and did not take a shit the whole week.
Nope.
And we never went back because he hated it. And I've always held it against you a little bit that you kind of ruined camp for me. Because it was like, I had such a good time. Like, do you remember?
I protected you.
Do you remember those camp counselors? Like that first night there was that big bonfire and they came out of the woods and stuff. Like, I just love that kind of stuff. And then they're singing. Yeah, we're all singing about Jesus, but we're singing together. And you just didn't like it. You hated the whole thing? Every bit of it?
I was constipated.
Oh, it was okay. So it was affecting your brain.
I didn't like swimming.
You didn't like
I was
the bunks. You didn't like the fast showers. But the way I thought about it was
shower and other people could see you, and
it was called the 60-second shower.
And you could poop and other people could see you, I think.
Yeah, but that's all part of it, man.
And then there
makes the memories.
In the flashlight wars, it was just like
yes!
It was at night and it was dark and scary and people were shining flashlights in my face and pursuing me. It was basically like, I don't know.
I needed a backup friend for these things.
I'm sorry, man.
I needed somebody who was willing to go do those things.
I wish I would have been more open to it.
But anyway, Shepard didn't even need a friend. And I actually think the fact that he went without having a friend, and he said this, it's funny, the wise things that he was saying on the trip back as we were driving him home from the airport. He was like, I'm actually glad I didn't go with a friend because if I had have gone with a friend, I would not have connected with the other campers as much.
That's good.
And I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Lincoln was about his age. Actually, he was a little bit older because it was late when we finally talked him into going to camp. He did go with a friend. They had an awesome time. And then it was the timing didn't work out for him to go back the next year. I can't remember exactly why. I think it's because the next year we went on tour and he came with us, which was a great experience. But he really wanted to go back and then he aged out of it. And I was like, he started too late. And now Lando at 13, he's more like me. It's like he's got a lot of anxieties associated with that type of thing. We put him in a tennis camp that's just a day camp. And he was like, he made the decision. He's like, I think I'll like tennis. I want to get into that. And it was a great experience, so much so that he signed up for a second week.
Oh, that's
that he did.
Big win.
But it was just a day camp, so you don't really have the best parts of
What if you turned it into a sleepaway camp? What if you set up a little tent for him
Yeah,
next
you stay
to
there,
tennis
buddy.
Camp? Nobody else is doing this,
a
but
solo camping sleepaway.
we'll give you water and some of those meals you could warm up with boiling water.
I'd love to get him. Maybe next year he'd be able to do that. 14.
Well, I mean, the thing I love about this is that this camp, you can go up until your senior year. So he can go all through high school.
Yeah.
And then there's people that come back and be our counselors. Who knows? Maybe maybe he'll
such
cool
a big
off,
turn from you were telling about those first 2 days
God.
and how bad of a time he was having. And then he's like,
and
I want to go back forever.
And I was telling him,
it's classic.
It was funny because I was like, Shepard, and the kids don't listen, but I was like, this is a story as old as time, showing up at summer camp and being miserable the first couple of days. You're adjusting to so many things, not to mention the fact that it was the minimum temperature was 83 degrees at night and they didn't have AC. So just, this is hot. This is on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And But yeah, but then when you get through it, and this was the thing I really loved for him was this like getting that life experience that is like things that are worth it almost always are kind of difficult at the beginning. And if you just like, hey, come get me, and you go home.
You gotta poop early.
I don't think he didn't talk about not pooping, so I think he pooped fine. Yeah. If I could go back in time, if I had the ability to go back in time, people say this a lot of times. If you could go back in time and influence any one thing, at least right now, it would be going back and just handing like
not going camping with
12-year-old Link an enema. Like it all.
Oh, so I was still invited.
Like a weird grizzly man comes out of the woods at camp. And it's like, here, kid, put this in your ass.
Bend over.
I'm a time traveler. Trust me.
And it's you.
And it's me, but you wouldn't know.
In a bear costume.
No, I'm not in a
Giving
costume.
me an enema.
I'm in futuristic clothes. I don't give it. Hell no, I don't give it. I don't administer it.
Future you.
Administering. No.
Squeezing.
No. Don't put me look bad. I'm just an adult man who is handing an enema to a kid who will then do what he will with it. I'll give him instructions as well. I probably got to meet me as well and be like, make sure he does this. You know, because if I gave it to you, you'd be like, I'm going to throw this in the trash. But if I'm like, hey, tall, skinny guy, come over here. I'm you from the future. Make your friend do this. Don't do it to him. Just make sure he does it.
Sounds like you're trying to get your past self to give.
No, I'm not interested. My only interest is you enjoying camp.
I know.
If you took a shit in the first day or two at camp, our whole lives would be different.
Dude,
Who knows where we'd be?
I'm still that way. If I go on a trip, I gotta make it happen the first day, and then after that, it's okay.
If you,
it's like I've told my body, you don't have to conserve anything here. You don't have to hold it all back.
Yeah, right.
We're fine.
I think this is common, but this is why I take preemptive fiber, like 48 hours before travel. Hit the psyllium husk.
Hit it hard.
Hit it.
Yeah. And I travel with the enemas.
I'm saying if you do preemptive fiber, you may not need an enema.
I know.
It always comes to this. I don't know how we get there every time. It's just a part of life.
I do believe in camps.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give a quick promotion. Go over to the Mythical Kitchen channel. Post Malone had a last meal with Josh. He didn't die, but if he were to be dying and this is what he wanted to eat, Josh made him his like favorite stuff.
Yeah.
Also, Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias, if you're a fan, did a last meal.
Hey,
it was awesome.
Check out all the last meals. Best food show on the internet. Listen, I mean,
very proud of.
We're obviously big fans of Hot Ones and big fans of Sean over at Hot Ones and friends, and been on the show, and we'll unabashedly say that we would love to have a food interview show that was as successful as Hot Ones. But I just absolutely love the fact that Fluffy Gabriel literally said while he was filming, he was like, this is like Hot Ones, but fun. Because he wasn't being tortured. He was being given exactly what he wanted to eat. I just love that show, man.
Tom Hanks, check it out. Ear Biscuits is supported by Chime.
It's summertime. People are going on vacation, splurging a little, so it's the perfect time to start building your credit.
With the secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card, a better way to build your credit, you can build your credit score safely with everyday purchases and on-time payments. Plus, there's no annual fee, interest, or credit check to get started, and you can build credit using your own money.
The perks don't end with the credit builder either. If you have a Chime checking account, you can get your direct deposit up to 2 days early.
And with that qualifying direct deposit, you can overdraft up to $200 without fees by signing up for Spot Me. And Chime will spot you up to your limit when you make a purchase that exceeds your balance.
Plus you have access to over 60,000 fee-free ATMs that can be found using the Chime app. That's more than the top 3 leading banks combined.
And you can pay friends through Chime, no matter what bank account they use, and cash out your money fee-free.
Start building your credit up. Open a Chime checking account with at least a $200 qualifying direct deposit to get started.
Get started at chime.com/ear. That's chime.com/ear.
The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by Stride Bank N.A. member FDIC. Chime checking account and $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply.
On-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Late payment may negatively impact your credit score. Results may vary.
Ear Biscuits is supported by Rosetta Stone.
Now, you know I learned French in high school. It took a handful of years. Didn't use Rosetta Stone. I kind of wish I would have.
I took
no
3
offense
years.
to Miss Slaughter Sewell.
I took 3 years
and
and learned less than you did. I think I slept more in class. But if you're looking to learn a new language now, Rosetta Stone is the most trusted language learning program available on desktop or as an app, and it truly immerses you in the language you want to learn.
I would love to brush up on my French from high school. So when I do go to France, which I would hope to go back to France, I can connect, I can speak the language, or at least raise some eyebrows when I try to put my best foot forward, you know?
Yeah, order a croissant.
Uh-huh.
Croissant.
Je mange le croissant.
Croissant.
Croissant?
Croissant?
Rosetta Stone has used trusted experts for 30 years with millions of users and offers over 25 languages like French, Spanish, Dutch, Arabic, Korean, just to name a few.
And it works for fast language acquisition as it has no English translation, so you really learn to speak, listen, and think in that language.
Rosetta Stone even has built-in true accent features that give you feedback on your pronunciation, like a personal trainer for your voice.
It's really an amazing value. Lifetime membership has all 25 languages for any and all trips and language needs in life. A $299 program, but with our code, you can get it for just $149.
Don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. For a limited time, you can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off.
That's $149 for unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your 50% off at rosettastone.com/ear today.
We visited Lily. Lily moved into a new house. And so she wanted us to come up there and see her living situation. We all went, both boys, to visit her. And it's this cool, like, farmhouse with, like, I don't know, 5 of her friends. Kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It was kind of wild.
That's cool.
But it was pretty cool. There were horses around there.
Wild?
There was a dog outside. Oh, that's an outside dog. Whose dog is it? Well, sometimes he walks into my bedroom, Lily said. I open my sliding glass door.
Whose dog is
In
it?
comes a dog, like a neighbor's dog.
But the horses are somebody's.
Oh yeah, they're fenced.
Okay.
So I mean, it was nice to see firsthand, you know, your daughter's living situation and just kind of, and to meet the friends and kind of get a vibe for it. So then whenever you're talking to her, you can, bless you, you can bless her with a little bit more inside information. And,
Inside.
You bring some stuff. My heart was warmed because she said, I was like, what do you need us to bring? And she was like, I need you to bring my speakers and my record player and my records. Oh. And I was like, that I can do. Because that was the thing that when she went off to college, that's the thing that I bought. I was like, I gotta make sure you're set up with some speakers and your records and stuff. And then when she went off to college, she didn't end up taking it. And I was a little bit hurt. So I was nice that it was nice that she wanted that, because that was like, that's the thing that I felt like that I was contributing to her living situation.
Right. And she may have been just doing it to make you feel good. She may give it to the horses. We don't know.
No, I could tell. We set it up
Oh.
in like the communal area where everybody's like hanging out. Like, oh, now we can have dance parties. I was like, yeah, that's right. Yeah. We stayed in an Airbnb nearby, and this place had something that I just haven't seen in a while. At first glance, I was like, okay, man, they have it. But then I got closer and I realized this is a newfangled version of this thing, and I gotta give it a shot.
Air hockey?
Nope. Any other guesses?
Foosball.
It is recreational.
Okay, Airbnb, pool table.
What will be a newfangled pool table?
Air hockey.
They had a trampoline.
Oh, full size.
Full size. And
No net.
It had a net. but the net was different, and there was something else that was fundamentally different.
There was a sign on it that says, "Guests, please do not use the trampoline."
Because it was an Airbnb, it did have a sign, and I think it's like the boilerplate thing that they make the renters, the rental agreement, it's part of it for insurance purposes. They're like, only jump for 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah, that's
only jump one person at a time.
That's no fun.
And of course, take your shoes off, and you're still liable for anything that goes wrong. But don't jump more than 5 minutes at a time. Really?
Yeah. Why?
Don't jump
You minimize.
Don't jump with a friend. Really?
The only way to get high is to jump with a friend. That's
right.
The whole
You
point.
get that popcorn thing. I looked down under this thing. Have you ever seen a spring-free trampoline?
No.
This thing was wild. It's like, I mean, it did have. Here's a picture of one right here. It does have a net around it, but then you see how there's no springs.
So the whole material is.
The thing that you jump on it goes all the way to the edge, and it's the normal jumping material. And instead of having springs around the edge that you don't want to like drop a foot through, and they're like putting
The whole thing pancakes?
the whole thing is vertical and underneath, and it kind of looks like
It's
a
a
mattress.
big spring. The whole thing is one spring.
These things that are like, they're at a 45-degree angle from the top down to like another layer, and then so it smushes.
Yeah.
It smushes kind of like a mattress. And so each of these things is like just like a plastic shaft, like a plastic tube at a 45-degree angle attached to the top and bottom rims. And the bounce on this thing was very satisfying.
So it was even more than normal?
It was not, if you get a super high-end trampoline with springs, like an Olympic trampoline, you're gonna bounce a lot higher than you can on this thing. But for like a normal run-of-the-mill trampoline that you would get for your preteens or whatever.
You obviously see all the advantages that this design
It's so much
provides.
safer, but it's
You don't get the flying spring effect.
yeah, ba-doing.
Yeah, which we used to have to deal with.
Did that ever happen? Like I know Ben was the one with the trampoline.
Oh, yeah.
And he was on that thing all the time.
And I was
you were
on
on
it
a lot, and
all
I was
the
on it
time.
some.
Yeah, we had flying springs, and sometimes
Rusty flying springs.
it would break and it flies across. So most of the time it flies and gets caught, but sometimes it flies and would go into the woods.
And even if there's that blue padding over the springs, you're still gonna hit that stuff. And
You
that
end up
stuff's gonna
hitting
go
it
away.
if you get too aggressive.
But his didn't have any of the padding. It just had the holes, and there was no netting around it. I mean,
of course not.
Living on the edge.
No one had netting in '92 on their thing, because we would run, and the whole point was to be able to run from the ground and jump on it, or then jump off of it onto the ground.
This is actually better on the body. Like I could feel it when I got into this thing. It actually felt good. It was inviting.
Well, it's because the whole thing is like giving.
It's not a sponsor, but turns out, as far as I can tell, there's only one company that makes these spring-free trampolines.
Well, it's probably a patent.
That's what they're called. Yeah, maybe it's a patent.
Did you get video footage of this?
Uh,
I mean, a middle-aged man gets on a trampoline. He's got to.
I'm sorry to say that I did not get footage of me because it didn't dawn on me until here's footage of Lando. I mean, doing a little popcorn. So from this vantage point, you really can't tell that
They're pretty sturdy.
different than a normal trampoline. But I'm just glad to know that advances in technology are not leaving trampolines behind.
Yeah, because trampolines, they were kind of on the fence for a while there.
I know. They could have gone the way of the dodo.
Because kids get hurt on them.
But thanks to Springless, not a sponsor.
Well, that actually is a great segue into the update the little story I wanted to tell you. And speaking of kids getting hurt.
Okay.
As you know, Shepard is a big fan of the one wheel. And that I felt like a good and bad dad in getting it. And again, this was something that you got for your kids first.
Yeah.
And
now the only person who rides it is Shepard.
Well, me and Shepard and Locke also, now that he's home for the summer, we'll go out. In fact, this weekend we've got a whole like multi-day one wheel. We're staying on the west side because Jesse's got all this stuff happening at the house.
That's fun.
And it's just a one-wheel extravaganza. We're gonna get lost.
If you don't know what a one wheel is, it's an electric powered wheel in the middle of a skateboard. So you put your feet on either side of the wheel, and then this thing goes, and it's kind of like a Segway. Kinda, it's that Segway
Like a Segway meets
vibe.
a skateboard.
Yeah, Segway meets a skateboard. And they will go fast, and Lando broke his wrist falling off of his, and he's not really been wanting to get on it again.
Yeah. They're dangerous. I mean, let's just be straight up. They're dangerous, and
We met a guy on a plane.
Well, we met
who broke a collarbone.
Well, we should shout him out because he's a YouTuber.
He works for Corridor Digital, but he's also a professional.
Was his name like Ren?
Sounds right. Professional one wheeler.
We will if I can. I will say his name. Right now, I'm saying Ren. But I think that's not quite right, so we're going to overdub what his name actually is in those places that I just said it. Unless it is that. Great guy who, we talked to.
As far as we could tell.
And, he had broken his collarbone, and he has broken several other bones. Of course, he's going like 30 on the thing. But Shepard is a demon on this thing. He is just relentless, and, he wears a helmet most of the time. Sometimes I catch him without it, but...
You gotta wear that helmet.
But it's funny because what he does is he, we've got 3 of them. And so me and Lock and Shepard could all do it at the same time.
Yeah.
And
us too.
What this means is that Shepard he's on it every single day. Every single day. If I get home, he's not home, and I'm like, sometimes he's like, Dad, my battery died. And he's like, literally like 7 miles from home. In fact.
Is he using it as a form of transportation?
Yes.
Or just to...
He goes
joyrides.
Well, yeah. I mean, A and B. They're kind of one and the same. Like once you find yourself next to like the Starbucks, 5 miles from your house, you're like, it makes you feel independent as a 14-year-old. You can just.
That's good. Yeah,
it's something
the bike experience that we had.
It's what we had as kids, and that I was always like, I felt bad that we raised our kids in a city, essentially. Like we're not really in a city, but we're in the suburbs, but. We were gone all the time. We talk about it all the time about that independent spirit that you gain if you were a child of the 80s.
Does he make friends with like the tire repairman?
I like to think that he does.
And like the cobbler.
Time travelers from the future that are trying to hand him enemas. Yeah, that
the
kind of thing.
taco tent people.
But I'm a little, I have this like a little bit, I'm not very much of a worried dad. Like, I don't really have that gene. I'm mostly like, I just love the fact that he's out there somewhere. I don't know where he's at. Of course I do. I could look on my phone and track him. It is 2023. But I just love the fact that he has these experiences. But the thing is that he's got friends that come over. And of course, he wants to put them on these things. And of course, they want to get on them too. And we do have like pads and stuff that we have available to them. And we make sure that all the friends that wear a helmet, and I try to say, give all your friends full pads. Wrist guards, knee pads, elbow pads, because we live in a hilly environment and they're getting on a one wheel for the first time.
I bet you this story ends with nobody receiving any injuries.
And I think I told you that we've had a couple of incidents where, one of his friends will just completely bust his ass and then have to seek first aid at our home. And then, one time one of his friends busted his ass real hard and they didn't tell anybody. And then like his mom, like days later,
I thought it wasn't his ass, it was his arm, right?
Well, when I say bust ass, I mean, it's a general term for falling down.
Yeah.
But yes, it was his arm and his hip and his knee. It was all skin up. Again, things that happened to us all the time growing up. Like in a friend group
just
in 1987.
Mercurochrome methylate on that.
There was always one friend who just was skin up real bad. Like everybody had one. Who's skin up this week? But, and we didn't wear helmets either, which was stupid. We got away with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had a couple of incidents where the mom will find out later and then be like, we had one mom like text us pictures of the sores.
Look what you did to my son.
And she wasn't mad. It was just more like, did you guys know about this more? Like it was a kind of informative and like, kids still friends with Shepard. It wasn't a problem. But I was literally on the phone with our friend Mike, not Science Mike, but our friend Mike from North Carolina, 2 nights ago. And we haven't talked in a while, so we're catching up. He's like, how are the kids? And I'm saying, well, Shepard, he had a great time at camp, and he loves one-wheeling. In fact, he's one-wheeling right now, and I never know where he's at. He's just one-wheeling all over the place. I told you he had put 600 miles on one of the one-wheels that he doesn't even ride that much. Just to give you a perspective here, the kid has basically crossed the country on this thing. So, which the longer you go, the more you increase the chances that you're gonna bust your ass at some point. Yeah. But he hasn't had too bad of a fall yet. But I was like, I don't know where he's at. And every couple of weeks, one of his friends falls on this thing, and then we have to I'm like telling Mike, and I'm kind of like, and he's like, yeah, man, it's like us and skateboarding when we were kids, and reminiscing. And then I go into the house, and I have my therapy, which I do online, and I'm in the middle of my therapy session. And Shepard just runs upstairs, opens the door, and he's like, Dad. I'm not gonna say his name, but he's like, my friend took a real bad fall on the one wheel. You gotta help us. Jesse's out of town. Okay, so the person who should be there that could actually do something like informed and do a good job with this is not present. So it's just me. Yeah. And I'm in therapy, man. This is literally this is me time.
Currently.
And so, my therapist was like, I get it, man. Dad, dad duty calls or whatever. And I was like, yep, I gotta go.
And but the way that he was delivering the news, you definitely felt like you had to get up and run down.
Well, I didn't think I was gonna come in and see like a jaw hanging off by one side or anything like that. I didn't think it was gonna be that bad. I just figured this was in skint up territory. And when I got to the kitchen, skint up territory was where we were at. Okay. And it was, it shakes you up. But he was able to, it happened like half a mile from home. Okay. And instead of calling me, they walked back. Like Shepard picked up his one wheel and one-wheeled and he walked. And he's sitting there and he's pale as a sheet. And he's pretty badly skint up, but it's not dirty. It doesn't have, it's just like road rash basically on his knee, his elbow, and his shoulder. Okay. Again, he had his helmet on, but he didn't have any pads on. And so you could kind of tell he's a little bit in shock, right? And you didn't know, I'm not the most comforting presence, right? That's not, it's just not my thing, I got a lot of other gifts. That is one that whoever makes these decisions decided to leave out of the program.
Okay, yes, Rhett, you have other gifts. And yes, you can say that.
And so my first thought was, okay, don't laugh. I mean, I just gotta be honest with you.
Don't laugh.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Don't laugh at this kid. I don't know why. I'm sadistic. So I was like, he was panicking a little bit and he was beginning to breathe, kind of labored.
But you knew it when you saw him, it wasn't as big of a deal as he was.
No, he was shaking up. He was shaking up.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he had broken his arm or anything. Well, you never know. I'm not an X-ray technician, but he seemed like it was just skint up. And so I was
you didn't ask him to move. You got to move your fingers. If you can move your fingers, nothing above the fingers is broken. Well, I'm sure that's not correct, but that's what I always thought. Hey, you can move your fingers. It's not broken. That's the first thing I would have said.
Well, he was able to go like this.
Okay, move your elbow.
And it was more like
it ain't broken.
He had hit it hard, skint it, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get you cleaned up and bandaged up if I can find the things. This is the McLaughlin house. This is it's almost like a Walmart 18 months after the apocalypse. You know what I'm saying? Stuff has been kind of run through. We're not well organized, and we may not have what you need, just to be honest with you. So I was like, call your mom, first of all, so she can be on her way. But I'm gonna get you cleaned up. There was a moment where before I was able to clean him up, where he started breathing pretty hard, and then he was like, I can't see, I can't hear, I can't breathe.
Oh no!
And
panic attack.
And Shepard he's
about to faint.
Was feeding into this. He's like, Dad, something's wrong. And I was like, he's just shaking up. I took a washcloth.
I can't see. I can't. I can't hear.
I took a washcloth, I wet it, and
I'm in a tunnel.
and I just went up and I put it on. I gently put it on his forehead without laughing, and
Okay, good.
and 5 seconds later, he's like, "I'm coming back."
I'm
So
coming
yeah, he
back.
was about to faint, and
You
then
you didn't tell him to put his head between his knees.
No, I didn't think of that because
You got it.
Washcloth.
You should tell him that.
Washcloth did it.
Put the head between.
I got him back.
Yeah, he came back.
Don't critique me because I'm the hero of this story. By the way,
I'm just saying. Next time, the head needs to go down because he's gonna. If he
was
did
sitting
faint,
down.
If he did faint, the head is still gonna hit something.
well, I mean, Shepard was holding him. Or he was like,
Shepard was cradling.
he was spotting him.
It's okay, buddy. What do you want me to tell your family?
He was panicking. So he came back, and then he came fully to.
I'm sorry.
We tried to get some peanut butter in him, but he didn't want that because Shepard's like, "You've only eaten a bowl of cereal to hold the whole day." And it was like 7 p.m.
So peanut butter has sugar in it, but I mean, maybe a juice.
Yeah, well,
Next time.
I was just thinking about I'm gonna get this kid bandaged up and get his mom here. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like I was like, I kind of want to offload.
Pass this guy off before I burst out into laughter.
I want to offload this kid on the responsible party. But I felt bad because again, the one wheels are at our house.
Don't get me wrong. I'm giving you this advice, but I would have been the one fainting.
But so far, I haven't done anything wrong.
I pointed out a couple
the
of things.
washcloth saved the day. Okay, and then I cleaned him up. And I didn't. They were like, "Where's the hydrogen peroxide?" And I was like, "Guys, you're not supposed to put hydrogen peroxide on wounds. That's a myth. It's actually it causes them to not heal as quickly because just look it up. Look it up on the internet. It's not good to put on wounds, and you don't want to put alcohol. What you want to do is you want to just clean it with soap and water. You want to clean if if they're like open wounds or whatever, you want to go to the hospital or the emergency room. But if it's just your skin
I heard
up,
some ticky-tacky over there.
yeah, you just clean it with soap and water.
No, what does peroxide do? It just makes it.
It damages the tissue.
Harms the tissue and delays the healing.
It harms the tissue and delays the healing.
Yeah, there are things you can put on there like a
Now you can click away.
like
You've learned
Neosporin or whatever,
something.
but like I was like, I'm gonna let the mom deal with like dressing these with like the proper like antibiotic or whatever choice that she wants to make. I'm a soap and water guy, gently clean, and then I found the big pads and I taped them on, and then I gauzed over that. Like they'll stay in place. I was like, and the whole time I was like, you're doing a great job, Rhett. I was like, because I just don't. This is not my thing. I haven't come to the rescue of many people.
Okay.
And so, but then I was like, when's your mom gonna get here? I was
You didn't lose him. Victory.
He sits down, and he's like, he seems to be fine, and he's also saying like, thank you. He was very grateful. This kid, very nice manners, great, well mannered.
Been a nurse.
And so then I kind of forgot about it. I didn't talk to Jessie. Like Jessie's so busy with where she was out of town doing something, and like I didn't talk to her for like 2 days.
Yeah.
I did call her, but she never answered.
Okay.
She finally texted me, "Sorry, I'm crazy," which meant I'm busy. But then she calls me the next day when I'm here at work, and she's like, "Did so and so take a bad fall on the one wheel?" I was like, "Yeah, I tried to call you last night and tell you all about it." And she said, "Well, his mom said, tell your husband thank you for taking such good care
What?
of my son."
What?
He was very, very caring.
You're surprised by this.
And I was like, well, yeah, I didn't laugh at him. I did not laugh at the kid, and I bandaged him up. And I believe that I was, and I kept telling him
He's going to be talking about you for years.
I kept telling him, I was like, you're going to
wouldn't
be
be here today.
You're going to be okay. You're fine. Here, cold claw. I'm back. All of it.
Yeah.
Now if something had been really messed up, if he had broken something, I'm not saying I would. I think mostly this is just due to the fact that he really wasn't that hurt.
I don't.
If he was really hurt,
know what I would have
I
done.
might have unraveled.
If there
There was skin hanging off or
if
something
bone
like
is
that.
showing.
I would have
don't
taken him.
call
I
me.
would have taken him to the emergency room. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be like, hey, your mom's gonna have to take you to the emergency room in a little bit when she gets here.
I've been having this like catastrophic fantasy when I've been walking the dogs, and it.
Fantasy.
Well, it's just I picture it in my head. It's like it's more of a waking nightmare. Because I have to walk on the street at a certain point where there's no sidewalk, and I have to round a corner, and there's a couple of treacherous places. And so I try to be really aware of keeping the leashes short on the dogs because they, especially Jade, doesn't like to walk on the side of the road because it's really uneven. She wants to walk on the even pavement, which puts her in the street. And so I look behind me to see if any cars are coming. I can see a long way, and sometimes we can get up the hill a lot easier if I let her do that. But I do have this thought of somebody whipping around a corner or something and hitting my dog. And I've just played it out in my head that
It'd be pretty quick.
I would immediately scoop up my dog, get in the car with the person, and insist that, well, first of all, I would be very angry. And I would be...
What are you thinking?
Yeah, I would be yelling and saying, you need to take my dog that you've hit to the vet, to the emergency vet right now. We're going.
Okay. Yeah.
Does this seem like a good plan? Because this is exactly what I've visualized it so many times. I just want to be ready for it. And I've taken off my shirt and I've like wrapped it around the wound or whatever if a leg is broken
So
or
you're
something.
shirtless in this story.
I'm shirtless, I'm yelling, I'm writing. I've made because people drive too fast.
How far are you from home? I think there's a rule of thumb here.
A mile or less.
Well,
But this is precious time.
I feel like there needs to be a minimum distance.
This is precious time.
If you're, I
kind of want to punish the person by having them be the one to take me all the way there and get some blood in their car and, they're driving too fast.
How bad is the dog off?
Broken leg, there is bleeding. I've stopped it with my shirt and I'm not doing well at all.
First of all,
and if Chrissy's
this
not
would be
home,
a very
why
traumatic,
would I go home?
Very traumatic day for this person.
Well, what about me and the dogs?
Well, not only does this person have to deal with the
This
fact
is my worst nightmare.
that they hit a dog, right? They have to deal with the fact that the owner of said dog is getting them to take it to the vet, and the owner of the dog happens to be you. Like, this is not a good day for that person.
I definitely need to get them to give me a ride
with them
to my house, right? Because I definitely have to get in the car with them, right?
Yeah, I honestly, I think that most people might volunteer that.
Okay, good.
I mean, this
Even
is
if I'm yelling at
this has had to have happened.
I know
multiple times. I think it's
sorry
most
for
likely
being a downer.
I think it's most
I didn't
likely
participate at camp.
people will take you to your home, and then you would take the dog to the emergency room. I think that's probably what happened.
But then my kids are involved, and they're traumatized. And if Christy's not home, this person's taking me all the way.
Let me just can I?
Because I need to be Googling which one's the closest.
Here's the thing.
Which I kind of know.
I think the biggest sort of the starting point of this story, of this scenario, is where you're getting off track.
Okay, I know you're going to say that I let Jade walk in the street.
No.
And that's a good
point. No,
I keep her really close.
I'm not saying that.
She's just right on the edge.
It is almost impossible for the scenario that you're envisioning to happen. People don't hit dogs that are being walked. Yes, it has happened. Highly unlikely.
They get closer than I can't get further over.
Dogs who get hit by cars are dogs that are off leash, that are crossing the street. I've had a dog. I've had two dogs die, as you have told the stories in the book of Mythicality. And one of them jumped a fence and crossed the road and got hit. And the other one was mysteriously poisoned.
Man. Yeah, it's traumatic.
But
if I drop the leash,
I just think you're not gonna drop the leash. What are you?
Well, there's also the retractable leash, and it goes out really far, and only Jasper's on that.
You said that you were keeping it close.
And I do keep it close, but
you have nothing to worry about.
But there's just one little button that if the button gets hit, then and he sees a squirrel across the street. It could happen. I think about this stuff to decrease the chances of it happening.
I just don't think it's a legitimate worry. I think you need to not worry about it.
I know it sounds a little OCD at this point, but
it does. I don't think you should worry about it. I don't think this is going to happen. But if it does happen,
a couple weeks ago,
you got to be
you were
300
telling me
yards or more
I
away
need to
from
be
the house.
I need to be thinking about the consequences of my actions more. And here I am doing that. So it's like,
Okay,
you can't have it both ways.
Well done. Well
Right.
done, Link.
Right?
Yeah, well, I don't think that this is misplaced concern. When you were driving Greg around, nearly falling off the edge of a mountain, like maybe slowing down around the blind turns, that would have been wise. But this is different.
All right, so then I'll change subjects.
Okay.
But this reminds me, I went go-karting.
Oh.
Me, Lincoln, and a couple other friends, like 5 of us, went go-karting. And these are electric go-karts, indoor go-kart racing warehouse scenario.
Mm-hmm.
We've done it like years ago. I think I've done it twice in my life.
I did it pretty recently too with my family that was in town.
And they had expanded the track.
Mm-hmm.
And so it went through a whole new area and the whole thing was different. I swear that the cars used to not be electric. But maybe I'm thinking about that place outside of Dunn. Remember when that place outside of Dunn, the fun center opened up?
Yeah.
And they had outdoor go-karts and they had like those like things in the pool, like bumper cars in the pool. And I was like, what?
I only went on like one time.
I only went once. It's like, how on earth does anybody think in the middle of nowhere this is a good idea?
It was done, man.
I mean,
It's the crack capital of the world.
Yeah, it is. The thing about go-karting is that, first of all, it is fun, but it is exhausting. And at our age, there's this constant awareness that something could go wrong to my
I
body.
don't want to get hurt.
I know, I don't want to get hurt.
That's all I'm thinking the whole time.
Like, I was like, I'm gonna buy 2 races, but I'm not gonna buy a 3rd race because I feel like 3rd race is when
Pushing your luck.
what does me in. But you get on these things, and there was 5 of us, and then in the heat, there's probably 10 or 12 people. So there's strangers that you're racing against. And this creates an interesting dynamic at top speeds they'll go 45 miles an hour.
They feel crazy fast.
They feel crazy fast, and some of them are harder to steer than others, but they all take a good amount of work to like really hold in the turns. This is like an aggressive experience. I really liked it. It's a little pricey, but the thing that I noticed was that there's people who just aren't as aggressive
and they ruin it for
as
everybody.
I am. And that starts out fun because like you finally come up behind these people and you're trying to get around them and the turns are really tight and there's a bunch of them. So it's not like you're just going 45 the whole time. You really gotta slow down. You gotta you gotta really time your turns and be strategic about it to get around these slow people. And they don't allow bumping.
Yep.
Or sideswiping or any of that. But it still happens. And when it happens, you're as close to this stranger who you're sideswiping as you and I are right now.
Yeah.
And so the look that's exchanged, I didn't anticipate how precarious of a moment that is. When it's like, they could reach out and grab my wrist, pull me close and say, don't you ever do that again.
But they probably won't.
But I definitely got some of those looks.
Now, I think differently about this, just so you know. I think differently about go-karts than I do the UTV situation.
So you're full bore? Let them have it?
Last time we went as a group and you and I were there, I got the fastest time. Do you not recall this?
Of course not. Because it's not about the fastest time, it's about the most fun.
Yeah, but you're talking about how aggressive you're going. I'm saying that
I was slowing down so that people could catch up so that I could be racing with people.
Like, I go
That's the fun part.
as balls to the wall as possible.
To win. Because they do text you your results.
It's fun.
Oh yeah, they put it on the board.
But it's so safe. It feels so safe to me. Like, if you go off the track, you're just more warehouse. You know what I'm saying?
But what about the part where you're like locking eyes with a complete stranger that thinks you're an asshole? That made me uncomfortable.
Well, I've been to the place that you're talking about, and every time I've been, everyone on the track at the same time was somebody I went with.
That's when it's fun. That's the thing that I hadn't
It was my
experienced.
family and an extended family. And
The stranger
then it was
danger.
some mythical folks, and then that time it was us and our friend group. So, and you bump your friends and your family. Like, that's
yeah.
part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Until you get the warning, and then you get the second warning.
Well, I thought that I was bumping a friend.
Stranger,
Until we locked eyes, and that's what was so, like, jolting about it was, oh, this is a complete stranger. Like, what's the conversation gonna be like when we all get out of our cars, take off our helmets, and are walking back to the snack bar? Like, that's when I like start.
I just feel like
I kind of got a little speed.
I just feel like it's
Get out of
It's
there.
expected. It's part of it. Because
I could tell by the way they were driving, they weren't, and looking at me, they weren't expecting
well,
it.
the bumping part is because you're trying to find the gap to pass them. You're waiting for them to go too wide into a turn, and then you go inside them.
Yeah.
And then like you're gonna bump a little bit, and you might sideswipe somebody. But I think that's all fair game. I feel differently about that. That doesn't feel like a safety issue. That feels like a social issue.
Oh yeah.
I think you have to
I'm
try
talking about the social
really
part.
hard to hurt yourself in one of those. What you'd have to do is you have to hit somebody really hard, like somebody stationary, and you hit them.
Yeah,
that's a
whiplash.
no-no. You can hurt them real bad.
Yeah.
More so than you'll hurt yourself in the process.
But then I kind of want to work there
You can't
because
flip those things.
they
though,
have
no matter
this.
what you
I don't
do.
think so. They have this power to just like remotely turn off all of the carts,
You want
or
to
to
work
like
there to do this?
really slow them down.
Yeah, right.
And so it's like
The
if
final lap.
if something goes wrong, they bring everybody down, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you got to wait for them to bring you back up. But then the moment they bring you back up, and you don't know when it is, you're like slowly going behind somebody, and then all of a sudden, zzz, and then you're taking off again.
It's
That's
fun,
like
man.
so I'd like to be that. I'd like to be on that lever.
So
And I'm going to incorporate springless trampolines.
it's so funny that you're like what it's not I want to come back and do this by myself or I want to do this just completely unhindered. I want to be the guy who controls all the carts and slows everybody down.
Speeds him up, holds up the signs. No bumping, no side swiping.
Well, you were a ride operator for a summer in Santa Cruz and you hated every moment of it.
Yeah, it actually sucked. Yeah.
So
Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'll be a driver. But see, I'm getting a lot of recreation under my belt between that newfangled trampoline, the newfangled carts.
It's
Boy,
quite
I'm on the
impressive.
cutting edge
it's quite impressive.
of high speed and jumping.
I don't think I would
recreation.
I don't think I would do a trampoline. I can almost promise you that would be a bad idea for me in my back.
The back compression. It's better on. This is better on your joints.
Yeah?
This is the one to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if I can risk it.
I don't think you can risk it, but only 5 minutes at a time.
Well, you know what? I've enjoyed catching up.
I've enjoyed catching.
I've got
up
more
too.
things, but I mean, we can save that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we've been talking for an hour. That's enough for anybody to talk.
I got it's my rec this week. I made a new playlist. I'll plug it just to remind you. Sometimes I make playlist. It was last Saturday. I was like, you know what? I need a new like poolside pool party playlist. So I made one, Pool Party 2023. It's
Okay.
it's available
That's timely.
on my Spotify. I think we might have 3 hours of some nice, energetic.
What's the vibe? What am I eating?
You're swimming.
Oh, swimming.
You got a cold beverage.
Am I swimming or am I floating?
Your ass is floating in a tube, and you got a cold beverage. But then you're also swimming and maybe doing some underwater jujitsu.
Am I
at certain
What's
points.
the tenor of the conversation?
It's like, hey man, give me a hot dog.
Okay, all right, got it.
Throw me a cold one.
Pool party 2023.
Yeah, people are hanging out over. Somebody's got you know. Check out those cutoff shorts.
You shouldn't eat a hot dog in the pool though.
No, not in the pool.
Not on a raft. You should not be.
I'm getting out of the pool.
You should not be reclined when eating a hot dog. Number one choking hazard.
The easiest way I can tell you to get to my Spotify playlist is by going to my Instagram profile, and then it says my Spotify playlist, and when you click on that, you can open Spotify, and then you can search for Pool Party 2023.
Oh, that's fair enough.
It was fun. I tried it that morning, and then we had an impromptu pool party that afternoon. Because Lily happened to be home, and it was hotter than files out there.
Yeah, boy.
And I was like, hey,
Boy.
let's do a pool party. I can try out my playlist, which gave me the confidence to make it public. I think it works.
It's a previewed and fully experienced playlist.
Yeah, there you go. It's pool tested.
All right. Thanks for spending this time with us. Remember that you can give your feedback, your insights, and also give us your questions by calling us at 1-888-EARPOD1.
Was I supposed to say the 188 part? Because
You traditionally said it, but I mean, it's, you can change things up. Your dog can walk on the other side of the road,
Yeah. Or just use hashtag ear biscuits.
Hi, Rhett and Link. I just finished listening to your toxic traits draft episode, and I just wanted to let you know for basically the entire episode, I thought whenever you were talking about inflexibility, you meant whether or not you could touch your toes, that type of flexibility. I was so confused the entire time because I was like, how is this a toxic trait? I don't get it. And then Rhett chose it and gave the definition, and everything instantly clicked. Anyway, love you guys. Stay flexy.
To watch more Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist on the right.
To watch the previous episode of Ear Biscuits, click on the playlist to the left.
And don't forget to click on the circular icon to subscribe.
If you prefer to listen to this podcast, it's available on all your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for being your mythical best.